Well, the rand has had its high and low moments in 2023. Some of the notable factors weighing on the local currency performance included load shedding and the country being added to FATF's grey list. With blackouts expected to lessen ahead of elections, some experts are positive on the rand outlook for 2024. Forex Sales Trader at RMB, Keenan Moses, joins us now for a forecast of the local unit this year. Thank you so much for your time, Keenan. Of course, there's been quite a lot of volatility in the financial markets, looking at, what the picture looks like as the year is starting compared to the rally that we saw at the end of last year. Let's actually zoom into the rand. Just walk us through the range that we've seen between December and now, where it closed off and what it's looking like now for the local unit.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. Yes, the rand definitely traded a bit on the weaker side. Last year, we saw sort of these ranges, give or take. And I think just closer to last year, I think the idea was that we'd get closer to the 1850 mark is what RMB had it as. We closed out at 1831. We unfortunately ended 20 out of 23 out of the emerging market basket of currencies, which obviously shows the underperformance of the rand. I would go to an extent of saying undervalued. As well. So yeah, definitely we started a bit again on the lackluster part of this year. A lot of range bound trade from the 1850 to the 1865 mark. But yeah, as we waited for holidaymakers to make their way back, I think coupled with that, it was decreased volumes, quite thin liquidity, and obviously range bound trade was also seen extended into last week. So the trading floor definitely felt the dollar holiday yesterday as well. So that was obviously due to a lot of subdued trade, especially from the US market. Today, however, we did turn pretty much like the Joburg weather today, quite grim for the rand, opening at 1869 and trading all the way up to about 1893 on the highs.
Yeah. Would you say that right now the biggest drivers of the rand are global factors? Because, I mean, as you mentioned, people are still making their way to work. The volumes are still thin. And would you say, because, of course, we know the long-term effects of the current economic landscape in South Africa. But in the short term, would you say that it's just global drivers influencing the rand more than what is happening locally in the short term?
Yeah, so look, I think there is a mixed batch. I think at the moment that there's two factors playing. So we have local factors and the like, which obviously comes through from last year. We had our own similar structural issues in 2023, infrastructures in terms of the port. And I think obviously we go more recent to the transit collision that happened, obviously shutting down a coal line, which obviously affects our economy as a whole. So yes, definitely energy front as well comes into play, Eskom and the grid. We are hopeful that there would be some alternative sources of energy this year. So hopefully to take the pressure off that, obviously just extending and helping growth in the South African market. Globally, yes, absolutely. As you mentioned, that theme comes through from 2020, the US economy, inflation and interest rates, right? So I think that always will come into play, and it's a huge role against the rand as well. So yes, definitely on the talk of the Fed reaching their hike in terms of their interest rate cycle. The idea is that 31st Jan is when they do meet. The idea from there is that they probably will hold out and then looking to potentially cut 31st March. So obviously the word potentially is quite a big talking point at the moment. How quickly and how rapid they do cut is going to be a big game player at the moment for the rand. So specifically, definitely local and global factors coming into play.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there has been some optimism in the markets about these rate cuts that are expected. And of course, you mentioned that at this point, we really don't know. It could be March, could be July. It could be any time during the course of the year. But would you say that, as much as we do have those expectations, that the rand is still trading on global risk aversion at this point?
Absolutely, and it just goes back to our theme that we spoke about, right? There's a lot of upside risk that we could potentially see in the rand at the moment. So obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty in geopolitical issues at the moment. Our budget is under constraint. We have risk on in terms of elections this year as well. Energy crisis comes into play. So yes, definitely lots of risk on in terms of rand. And again, I think during these period of times, it does look like there might be a chance for potential blowout. Could we potentially see high 19s again? So all those factors do come into play with specifically to risk aversion coming to the rand.
Listen, there's also a possibility, I don't know how much, of a Trump comeback. Could that be a big disruptor for the rand if we actually do get to that point?
She also that's been such a been such a big talking point on the floor this morning based on the Iowa chat
Yeah.
yesterday. I think just on the basis of what had happened there and him actually coming out as a forefront runner. So I mean, he comes with a lot of controversial and controversy around him rather. So I think just in essence of that, he's historically proven that his policies are very US dominated. Basically, everything is done within the country, and I think obviously there's a lot that comes with that. Obviously, the dollar has tended to stay stable during his period of time, and this is obviously during his tenure
Yeah.
between 2016 to give or take to 2021. And I think during that period of time, you have a look historically, Rand has traded relatively strong, but there's always that risk on based on his extreme views as well. So
Yeah.
again, it's a big contentious play.
Yeah. Any projections that you've made so far for the rand in 2024?
Sure, RMB has the forecast currently at 1775 at year end 2024. This is obviously on the back of huge caution based on all the risk events that I mentioned and geopolitical risk, elections, and not only South Africa, but around the world as well. We have obviously tightening in terms of global economies. So a lot to look forward to this year. I think the RMB is still a bit on the optimistic side. The rand does strengthen on the back of those US dollar cuts. But yes, as mentioned, 1775 for us in 2024.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and just walking us through the movements that we have seen in the rand so far and the outlook for the local unit. That was Forex Sales Trader at RMB, Keenan Moses.